We'll talk about utilizing AI to create the next generation of foods. And allow me to slowly and gradually, before we take the first break and have a proper dynamic discussion about AI and its relevance for the industry, we're all set. Peter Kruger is here with us, chairman of Agrifood-Tech Italia. We have James Wilde, partner at ATK and panel discussion moderator. Recently found in the audience, as you can see, Michela Petronio is with us representing Blufuture Steercom at Barilla. Welcome. Good afternoon. And we'll be introducing one more speaker.
Yeah.
Enjoy. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So thank you and welcome to the third panel. We will talk about AI and its impact on the food sector. So my name is Michela Petronio. I'm a member of the Investment Steering Committee at Barilla Corporate Venture Capital, the food Italian company. So AI is promising to disrupt many industries, and the food sector is no exception. So AI is promising to change the way we think about food, we design food, we manufacture food, we produce and distribute food. And however, is also posing a number of concerns about, for instance, data privacy, the impact on employment, and many more. So today we have, a great panel and colleagues. We have here colleagues to discuss their point of view and sharing their ideas about challenges and opportunities in this field. So I would ask everyone to have a very short round of introduction, starting introducing yourself and sharing a little bit about what you do, especially at the intersection of AI and the food industry. Please.
Okay. So hello, everyone. My name is Ilana Ryder. I work for a company called Tastewise. Tastewise, what we do, in fact, is that we are able to give everyone an answer. What are the upcoming trends? What are consumers actually wanting by using AI in our technology? For those of you who walked outside today, there are a lot of messages, a lot of really great companies, great products. But how many of them at the end of the day really, on a daily basis, monitor what are consumers actually looking for? What are they wanting? What kind of flavors are they looking to integrate? What are their concerns on a daily basis? And we are blessed to be in an industry that works bottoms up, which means we actually have a great panel on a daily basis of people uploading their wants, needs, desires on everything they eat and they do, whether it's on social media or in menus and restaurants. And it's AI that will utilize that data, collect everything, and manage to aggregate it in a way that we can actually conclude and deduct what are the future things people are looking for. So that every development that comes, whether it's agriculture or a food product or a protein alternative or sugar, we will know exactly what are the consumer needs, what are we addressing, what should be the future, and distinguish between a fad and a trend. So that is what we do at Tastewise.
Thank you. Peter.
Hello. Well, first of all, thanks, thanks Michela and the organization. It's always a pleasure to be back in Warsaw. I'm half Polish, so I always get a little bit excited. Are you?
Yes.
Great, cool. So we have one Pole on the stage. I'm basically an investor. I started actually my career studying neural networks back in the 90s. I was a physicist, but then fell in love with the internet, so I got sidelined by another network there. But I always kept, updated on what was going on in the world of artificial intelligence. And then about 10 years ago, I got close to the world of, agri and food tech. And actually, since the beginning, we've been investing in a lot of companies that do also AI. Okay, so let me say this: AI is not new to agri-food. What we should be really talking about is, the impact that these new technologies that have emerged in the last couple of years can have, on the industry, and I'm really happy to go into that.
Great. Hello, everyone. My name is James Wilde. My bio's on the app, so you can click on my name to get the details. What I'll say is my conversation today is going to be sort of influenced and employed by sort of three key areas that I have some very specific experience with AI, machine learning, different sort of intelligent capabilities. The first, 8 years as a service line leader or partner at some very large consulting firms. Secondly, been a co-founder or first investor into some AI-driven startups. 2 of them have exits, another one's 12 years into the game and is still growing. And lastly, and for me, most importantly, I'm a third-generation farmer. I still operate 3 high-value row crop operations in North Carolina. And to prove that, I know that a high-value crop means that it just costs a lot to grow, not that you make a lot of money from growing it. So happy to be here. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you. I mean, we have very different experiences on the stage, so we'll try to have, round of questions that maybe really get the different perspectives. So starting from the potential benefits of AI across all the food supply chain, so thinking about precision agriculture, factories automation, consumer insights. So in which sectors do you see an early adoption of these technologies, and in which areas do you think will take longer to adopt this kind of innovation? Who wants to start?
I'll take that really quickly. I'll be very quick. A lot of the previous talks have addressed that, so maybe I'll just sort of spotlight 2 areas where I'm especially bullish, and that's sort of where food and agriculture overlaps with an adjacent or indirect sector. I like that area because it sort of presents a white space that sort of accelerates and multiplies value, because typically there's not going to be the in-house knowledge of those sectors with the food or with the agriculture. So the service that you're providing is a lot more than just the solution itself. It's that subject matter expertise and the ability to take things to market. 2 very quick examples of what that might be. So oil and gas for an agriculture solution that helps you intelligently grow cover crops. Why is this exciting to me? Well, because cover crops, for anyone that knows sort of broad acre production, are typically in between crops that are not grown for commercial revenue generation, but instead for creating nutritious soil for the upcoming season. AI can help us create smart operations that grow cover crops that are also biofuels. So we're not taking away from the food or the ag production, but instead we are helping to be a smarter farmer and also address declining biomass for biofuels. And the second one for food, that's a good example for me, is an area where I personally have seen some interest, and I'll just give an example because I can't give the real life situation. But a company that's highly invested into intelligent wearables, garment industry, clothing industry, that might be interested in working with Apple, because Apple is connected to your sort of biometrics and your health metrics. And then a sports bottle company that can put an IoT device in the cap so that you're personalizing sort of hydration in real time that's connected to your phone, that's being measured through your wearables. So anything that sort of addresses the system or the overlap of opportunity, I think is really, really exciting.
Thank you. Peter.
So as I said, we already started investing time ago, and we saw AI applied all across the board. Okay, so of course, precision farming, a lot of data analysis. Whenever you get data, you try to apply AI algorithms, more or less successfully. That to be seen. But also animal welfare, computer vision applied to the monitoring of the health of animals, and all the way to retail. Actually, we had a couple of startups. One from Central Eastern Europe called Trackbar that was collecting data from the POS system at the restaurant and just helping the restaurateur manage operations, and all the way to robot delivery. Right, we have a company called Kiwi Campus based in the US, and they're basically doing robot delivery. So these are ideas, concepts, and technologies that we invested 7 or 8 years ago. So I think the main difference today is that, of course, we have this new breed of AI algorithms, of course, transformers, but also more powerful reinforced learning kind of algorithms that can really improve the performance of these systems. And I think the big thing that we're not just seeing in the agri-food space, but all across, let's say, all industries, is really a lot of models that have struggled or even failed in the past that all of a sudden are made more sustainable, financially sustainable, thanks to these technologies. Okay, so I think think of the chatbots 6 or 7 years ago. They were based on these LSTM algorithms, which were very basic algorithms to kind of track the correlation over time of language, basically, and we had a lot of those, a lot of money going into those companies, which most of all failed, really. And now all of a sudden, thanks to the transformer technologies, these LLM technologies, they are, they now become, more sustainable, more capable. First of all, of providing real value to the consumer, and on the other side, make a more sustainable business prospect, right? And I think we're going to see a lot of that. Okay, one suggestion is, I'm giving myself is, go back to ideas that failed a few years ago. Okay, in robotics, in marketplaces, anything that has that is connected to suggestions, profiling, maybe even personal nutrition. See where they failed, and if where they failed today, they would not fail thanks to the benefits, the increased efficiency and effectiveness of these kind of algorithms. I think this is one of the, let's say, the tools that you can start using in trying to analyze, businesses in the space. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I think I'll take it from the angle really of the consumer where we sit. So if we're looking at AI from a consumer perspective, it's not only being able to pick up on food discussions, you have to make sure that you're picking up on the relevant discussions. And today with image recognition and obviously all the technologies going in, it's still not enough. You need to have that expertise of learning how people discuss food, what are they saying, what are the right words you want to be using, utilizing AI. So not every AI tool can be relevant for consumer understanding. You have to choose someone who really sort of focuses on that. And the reason I mention that is, for example, and I think this will show the best, is that everyone here is talking about health, right? We all agree that health is something we're interested in. But if you look at social discussions, you'll see that altogether health is actually declining by 27%. Okay, in conversations, discussions, talking about, by the way, millions and millions of discussions, up to billions on a global level. It's not that health is actually declining, it's that health as a general aspect is no more interesting to people. People are looking for more specific health. They want to know what's going on specifically around gut health, or around mental health, or around heart health. And when you look more deep dive into that, you're able to categorize your audiences and see how things are more relevant, whether it's a protein alternative or a sugar alternative. And if I take sugar, for example, from one of the speakers here before that mentioned, you'll actually see that when we're looking at women's health as a topic, it is actually growing 120% year over year in a 2-year data scope over time. And this is why there's a very close relation between hormones, for example, and sugars alternatives. So for a company like that, for example, I would say it's very important to really connect to that and not, as people said, use buzzwords like, oh, health is great, which means absolutely nothing to anyone. You want to know what in health you're addressing. So if you're addressing really that aspect, for example, of women's health and what are people looking for. And within that, being able to also associate the ingredients, right? Sugar, which sugar alternative, right? Why is sugar important in this aspect? So when you really, I think, look at AI and how it can utilize you, it's not only really affecting everything, it's from the beginning, what product am I creating? Is it the right audience? Am I giving the right messaging? Because at the end of the day, everyone wants it to be picked up from the shelf and consumed. And I see people here standing outside with samples and people are like, should I try this? Should I not try this? And if you put it in the right recipe and if you give it in the right way, we want to convince millions to try this. So connecting to that aspect, and what AI enables you to do is really cover those millions of data points, give you what people are asking for, and deliver that in the future products. Also being able to look at future trend lines, which is very important, especially when investing in these companies. It's not a fad. It's not something that's going to come and go very quickly, like something on TikTok, but we really want to see that growing trend that's going to show us something into the future, like a lot of topics did.
Oh, thank you a lot. I mean, I take the opportunity, build on this question actually, because I think it's absolutely true. So, and my question was related to the powerful benefits that we might have from these technologies, but also, I also have a kind of sensation, and maybe someone on the audience will share their thoughts later, about the fact that the food industry is not actually taking this opportunity so seriously. And I will be more specific, taking your case. So you can provide today a number of very granular information about a specific market, a specific consumer, specific target. So if you want to know what people are talking about food in Germany today, in 1 hour ago, and you can provide me really very granular information. The point is that me, as a food actor, in the food industry, a food producer, how can I get those information and immediately deliver that product? And okay, if I'm a restaurant, I have a delivery solution, that's okay. But if I am a food producer and they want to jump on that trend the very moment, it's not so easy. So if I want to really to take this opportunity, this might be that I need to start thinking the way I produce food in a very, very different way. And this is probably the future of food personalization at mass, at scale, which I don't see actually yet in technology solution, in startups coming. So this is a space. I don't know what you think, because you are serving food companies.
Correct.
So what do they do with your data?
So correct. I think that there's a very big difference. I think there's a big opportunity actually for the smaller startups when it comes to that ground. Or let's say bigger companies that know how to create a startup environment within their innovation. So we do work with, the big CPGs, Nestle's, the Barillas of the world, Unilever's, and we see how they operate. And really when you're looking at a mass manufacturing, it's really hard to change the needle. You have a lot invested, you have really big operations managements, and every change is really, quite large, both on a company level and on a supply chain level, and everything you do. The opportunity really does come in where we work with a lot of small players, whether it's startup companies or smaller companies, or as I said, it can be small divisions or units that put on themselves the mission of bringing the innovation into these bigger companies. And when we're able to provide them with that aspect and to be able to look at it from not only a trend, as you said, which is an hour ago, we want to be able to see the different data sources. So we want to see what's going on in social. We want to see what are people cooking in their own homes. What are they doing? What are they eating out in restaurants? We want to aggregate the data. So we want to make sure that we have enough conversations and enough of a growing trend to be able to pinpoint and say, this is something relevant. And the companies that can act quite quickly upon this are really the ones to gain. And by the way, by quickly, it's not a month. But yes, if you have the ability within, a month to a 6 month to an 8 month period to really adjust your plans, to look at your consumers, to utilize these tools, you'll be able to gain that advantage in the market a lot quicker, a lot sooner than, by the way, the big companies will, that will need that extra year to create the product and end. So I think there's an interesting place that AI enables smaller companies or startups to really gain that advantage that they actually may not be aware that they can actually do that quicker than a lot of companies.
Thank you. I move to James again. So, and I want to ask you a specific question about the impact of AI on food chains, sustainability, and food security. I know you have quite a practical experience in this field. So, do you want to elaborate a little bit on this?
Yep, sure. So I think, barring the obvious when it comes to supply chain, things like procurement and efficiency and things like that internally as operations, AI can certainly help with that. That's, I think, a given. I think some of the areas that are especially exciting, and when I tackle AI, enabled projects, typically I'm a few layers down into a very granular or specific solution set, whether that's, forward-looking or immediate for integration and rollout. I think looking towards a future where water scarcity is going to be driven by hyperregulation, gatekeeping by countries and regions that have the water and keeping it for themselves. Anything that drives your ability to be water efficient in the food and agriculture world, and it's not just watering crops, it's also running your machinery and getting your distribution out into the marketplace and keeping the cost down and things like that. I think that is an excellent use case opportunity because I think that's table stakes at this point. Bill Gates said society always overestimates the amount of change that's going to happen in 2 years, but they underestimate the amount of change that's going to happen in 10. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about water scarcity. The second thing that I would say very briefly to the gentleman from Alltech, the consultant in me can't help but address a question from a large corporate. I think the opportunities in production, sort of that downstream opportunities are outcome-based pricing business models. So innovating business models in ways that's going to de-risk the producer and in exchange benefit sort of the input providers and allow for that de-risking to be mutually shared, which to your point I think is rarely the case historically. But in order for input companies and the large agrochemical companies to really sort of address the future, they're going to have to be a little bit more forgiving lest they be disrupted. And the last thing that I would say is, whether it's aquaculture or ear tags. I'm a marine biologist by training, so I can't help myself. Anything that looks at sort of the personalized nutrition of livestock, I think is an AI-driven opportunity we're just on the cusp of, especially in, agriculture, which is the least digitized, sector outside of forestry, I believe. So tons of opportunity there.
Thank you. Peter, a question for you for an investor's perspective. So recently, AI is becoming a buzzword. So every single startup is saying, we are using AI to do something. So, and this is, we can also in the food sector, and we can understand this. And probably they're also really doing that. So, but how would you see this as an investor perspective? Meaning, is something that is really needed today to pitch and mention that you have an AI algorithm somewhere, or maybe it's not, it's a little bit risky?
I was just speaking to a friend a few days ago and said, we have to get this, message out to startups that, they have to include AI. Okay, and I was replying, no, this is really a message we should be getting to all businesses, right? AI is, you just have to throw it in. Find your way, because either you do that or you're going to be disrupted by someone, right? So AI is, it's something, it's pervasive. It's going to be the big revolution for the next 20 years, just as the internet was for the past 25 or so. But that said, I think investors, and actually also entrepreneurs, and I think even corporates, are facing a major dilemma when it gets to AI. And you can see it with, investment data, okay? You see over the past years, everything is collapsed. There's been this huge doom in fundraising and so on. And the only sector that has, come up is, of course, AI. And the more we see this phenomenon, the more we realize that it's not just that it's only AI, it's a bunch of very few. So most of the money is going to a very limited number of players. Okay, so I was mentioning the story of chatbots. Chatbots 7-8 years ago. Most of these have failed. Now you have this new wave. You have the perplexities and a bunch of all other players coming out. And the big dilemma there is: are these guys, going to survive what's happening at a concentration level? Okay, so what we're seeing is that really there's a very strong winner takes all. And it's not just on the specific functionality, but it's all across the board. So the big dilemma for investors is, are there, is the use case I'm investing in something that's going to survive in 2-3 years, or is that going to be absorbed by someone else? And it's not just the open AIs, of course, it's also the Metas and the Microsofts and all these people are just going all across the board, right? And we know we have Amazon investing in agri-tech now. We have Google doing it. So I think that's the big dilemma. It's also a dilemma that is reflected on entrepreneurs when they decide to do these kind of things, because even the even the option of maybe generating an exit, it is not so obvious. And of course, it's a big dilemma also for corporates, right? I don't have a clear answer there, but I think that we are faced with it, and it's going to be interesting.
Thank you. So 4 seconds left. The panel's dilemma is if we have a final round of considerations or we open for Q&A.
Yeah, I would go for the Q&A. It's such an interesting topic, if you don't mind, I hope. Right. Am I too confident in believing there will be a question, at least one question from this audience? It's such a provocative topic, AI. Anyone?
I think we're between them and their break as well. So
I know.
Happy
That's
to connect outside of the hallway.
We have the sort of...
Grab a coffee and come for the questions after.
Yeah, but the beauty of a conference like that with an expo zone outside, people just go and have coffee when they like. They do not necessarily feel driven by the agenda itself. One question, just for the sake of asking a proper question, because it looks like you're not very much threatened, like other industries, by the AI influx, so to say. Because many people believe it's like an organic transition of technologies. Others think it's a true destructive revolution for many jobs. In fact, when you look at people who do IT coding, when you look at even interpreters and translators, they feel very threatened by the emergence of AI. What is it like for you? No threats? No.
Let me answer this one, okay? So, for example, I think, yes, you're right. I mean, there is a completely different perspective. I mean, when you talk about agriculture, especially in advanced economies, the major challenge is labor, right? I mean, labor costs, which are increasing, and labor shortage. So actually, AI is seen as a great problem solver, okay? The problem is that we don't have the technology yet. It's coming, and this new breed of innovation is not just about language, it's also about robotics. We're gonna see in the next few years a lot of more accessible technologies and more effective technologies, for example, on the field. So, yeah, more of an opportunity maybe here than a threat.
You're talking about like image recognition for things you eliminate from the field with lasers and all the kind of things.
There is a huge range of things.
Yeah. All you need to do is watch Interstellar to understand how it works in the future, I guess. Any more questions for the panelists now that we have like 2 minutes? No. If not, let's have a proper break, enjoy it, and come back 11:45 for the next session. Thank you to panelists. All the best.
Yeah.